Good evening, everybody. My name is Jonathan Trop. It's a pleasure to welcome you all to the July 18, 2024 meeting of the Trumbull Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Task Force. I'll call the meeting to order at 7:31. I would ask all of you please to join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the
To the
flag of
flag
the United
of the
States of
United States of
America,
America,
to the republic
which
for which it
which
stands,
stands
one
one
nation,
nation
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible, with
indivisible,
liberty and
liberty and
justice for
justice
all.
for all.
In terms of roll call, just for the record, in addition to myself, we're joined by Rick Bolton, David Rosenberg, Chris Powell, Jen Pacelli, our liaison from the town council, Jennifer Winchell, of course, our clerk, who knows she's here, Joanne Arnstein, and Bill Chin. I'm sorry, and Rodney Gray. The picture's not there, so I almost missed you, Rodney. I apologize. Um, Before I turn to the next item on our agenda, although it's not on our agenda, as a point of personal privilege, I think it's appropriate if you'll indulge me to make the observation that this past weekend saw a low point in our democracy. And regardless of where one stands on the political spectrum, we certainly should strive to resolve our differences amicably and through the ballot box. And regardless of what outcome one hopes to achieve at the ballot box, we should condemn acts of violence. And so it seems to me that as an equity, diversity, inclusion task force, we don't have to take and ought not to take any position on the politics, but we should take a position on the way we conduct our politics. And so I just wanted to observe with all of you that um, I hope for better for our country. Um, I don't. I guess in fairness to everybody else, I don't know if anybody wants to add anything to that. If not, I'll move back to our regular agenda. Okay. David, did you want
Just
to
going
ring
to
in? It
say
looked like you might have.
eloquently stated.
Thank you. Um, so the next formal item on our agenda is correspondence. The only correspondence that we have received as a committee through our edit email are since our last meeting are two additional emails from Dennis Neal. You will recall that we discussed an email from him last month. He was writing from rehab.com and seeking to have um, the town of Trumbull website linked to the rehab.com website. um, there was reluctance by our task force last month to um, pursue that in any fashion. But where we left off, I think, was to agree to at least take a look at the website and revisit. And since he sent us two subsequent emails, I think it is appropriate at least to decide whether there's anything further we want to do. His last email was a few weeks ago saying essentially last chance, although I'm sure if we reached out to him, we would have another. Um, does it, I don't know if anybody did take a look at the website or has any further thoughts. I did look at the website. It does include an awful lot of information that um, is gathered in one place and that might be of interest to various populations. But it didn't seem to me necessarily that this is something that our task force needed to get involved in. And if he wants to pursue it with the town of Trumbull, he can pursue it with the people who control the website. Did anybody have a different view? I don't mean to foreclose that conversation by sharing my opinion. Okay. Um, Next item on our agenda is public comment. Bill, why don't you let us know if anybody has anything to say?
Mr. Chairman, there are no members currently attendance right now.
Okay, thank you. Next item on our agenda is the approval of the minutes of June 20th, 2024. Those are posted on the town's website. I don't know if they were circulated by email directly to the committee. The email I saw didn't have an attachment. So have people seen those minutes? They have. Okay. So I'll ask for a motion to approve those minutes.
I move to approve the minutes.
Thank you,
Second.
Rick. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Rodney.
Second.
Any discussion of the minutes? Okay. Bear with me a second. Whoop, wrong place. Those who were in attendance included myself, Rick, Rodney, David, of those who are here tonight. So all of those who are there are able to vote, and I assume others will abstain, which I guess are Jen and Chris. So all in favor? All right, so it's unanimous with two abstentions. Thank you. Coming back to our agenda, if I can find it. Next item on our agenda is a discussion of old business, in particular the diversity training RFP. According to the minutes we just approved, last time we were together, I was hoping to hear from Tom McCarthy. I confess I haven't, and I further confess I haven't followed up with him. I apologize. I don't know whether Rick or Rodney in particular have any update on that from their perspective. I assume not.
No, I think Rick, did you have something?
No, I mean, no one's been in contact with me, certainly.
No, I haven't even, John. I think is the attorney on the call?
Jim Cordone is not on call.
No.
Yeah, I think we need to reach out to him to find
All right.
out what our next steps of action.
Not a bad suggestion. I'll reach out to Jim and try to ping Tom McCarthy again and see if we can't kick this thing back into a gear. Next up on our agenda is an update regarding invitations to departments to attend our meetings. I understand that Rena Bacalar is planning to attend in September, and we'll look forward to having her on our agenda in September.
Yes.
Chris, did you have any luck with Parks and Rec?
I reached out to Parks and Rec multiple times. Still haven't heard a response back.
Okay. So maybe I'll reach out to the administration and see if they can't help us to set up a discussion. The other department that we were reaching out to was education. And I spoke with Dr. Semmel, who was kind enough to share with us a short written report with some attachments in which he pointed us to some of the initiatives and objectives of the education department. And those are on our agenda for discussion under new business. So I propose to move on to the next agenda item quickly, and then to the meat of our agenda, which is the superintendent's written report. The last item under old business is coverage in the Trumbull Times, as at least I have remarked for the last few months, each time we've reached that point in the agenda. I don't think we have anything that is currently for the Trumbull Times. We do have the book club coming up in September, and so I think we ought to plan to try to start to publicize that, get the word out about the book. I don't think it's a heavy read, but it's not a 15-minute read either, and so we want to get the word out, and probably want to try to get some coverage in the Trumbull Times, maybe in the next few weeks. And so maybe I should reach out to the Trumbull Times and just let them know it's coming, and see what they want to do. Separately, we should start to promote it on our own Facebook page, etc. Jen, I see you nodding. You know what's coming? Would you do a poster for us?
I would love to. I
Thank you
don't know
very
if I
much.
have all the, I guess I have all the info. we have the information about the date and the title. I think I must have that here somewhere, so.
Yeah, it's 6 p.m. I want to say on September 30th at the Trumbull Library. And the book is Gender Queer. I
Yeah,
don't have
okay.
the author's name at my fingertips, but
That's okay. Yep.
let's, if you can develop the poster, we'll start to get the word out and get people reading.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, unless anybody has anything else under old business, I don't think there is anything. I'll move on to new business. So, as I indicated, the superintendent, after I reached out to him, was kind enough to share with us his written report with various materials. The materials go sort of well beyond the narrow focus or the narrower focus that we might have to address a variety of different issues being pursued within the education department. I think it's fair to observe, as Dr. Semmel does, that even those portions of their planning and programming that are not directly focused on issues of central concern to us will touch upon issues of central concern to us. Almost everything that is done within our education system bears on diversity, equity, and inclusion by how we teach and welcome our future citizens, our current citizens, our future adults. But there are specific portions that he pointed us to that particularly talk about the district's efforts to foster diversity, equity, and inclusion, including a report to the state on how the town is trying to achieve its objectives, internal reports about what those objectives are, and both how the town has met them in the last school year and how the town is hoping to meet them in the coming school year, as well as a statement of policy, a DEI statement, I guess. And so I guess without my, I don't need to drone on about it. I want to invite discussion and see what others' reactions are to the materials received. And so I'll do just that. Does anybody have thoughts to start us off? No.
John, I didn't get a
Rodney.
chance to read it. I didn't get a chance to read it. I know it was sent, I think late, what was it, last week?
We've had it for just under a week, and I apologize that that's sort of short notice for this meeting. Certainly,
Yeah,
if folks want it to be back on the agenda at a future meeting, we can bring it back on the agenda. But
Was it?
I didn't want to
was
lose
it
an opportunity to talk about it tonight as well, if we can.
Yeah, I didn't get it. Well, I didn't get a chance to read, but I do have a question. I thought Dr. Summer was coming to one of the our scheduled meetings. Is that still the case?
So my outreach to him was to invite him to attend, and his response was to say that he would be very happy to submit the materials in writing, and if we still wanted him to come, I could revisit that with him.
Okay. Well, I'll be prepared for the next meeting to with the materials.
Okay. Has anybody else had a chance to read them? If nobody's had a chance to read them, then you know, that shortens the meeting up.
I was skimming them briefly before our meeting earlier, but I haven't really digested it all yet. Sorry.
Likewise.
Same here.
All right.
Me as well.
Okay. So I will share additional thoughts based upon my review, and I think it might be appropriate to make as a central observation that one of the things that's extremely clear to me from my review is that the education department, the superintendent and his colleagues are approaching this issue with insight and expertise that certainly I lack. It may very well be that there are others on this call who have some of it, but I'm not one. And so one of the things that certainly occurred to me as I was reviewing the materials is, I was going to say the threshold question, but the question, what is the right way to think about our role with respect to what this report says? And there are various ways that one can consider what our role should be. At one level, one could say, even without having read the materials, without having studied the materials within our committee, we have done a public service by asking the superintendent to share the materials and by publicizing them through our committee to a different audience than might see them through the school's website, the district website, and the Board of Education. So, to that extent, I think we're filling a role. One might consider our role to be to ask questions. And there are all kinds of questions that one could consider asking based upon the review of the materials. You say you're going to do this. Have you done it? What did you learn? You report that you have certain metrics that you hope to achieve. You're going to measure your success by virtue of certain metrics. What are the metrics? What is your current status? What is your goal? What would you consider to be success? Those are questions that we could consider asking. I don't know that we necessarily have, as I say, I don't have the expertise to evaluate the plan and to assess whether the plan is a good one, but we could have a role in asking the school to fully articulate how it's doing its job. We could, in theory, ask the question, how can we help? Is there something that we can do that will facilitate your agenda? My expectation is that we would hear that they are well on their way and deploying their own expertise and their own insight, and they appreciate our support, and we should let them do their work. But we could offer support. There are probably other ways that we can interact with what they have provided to us. We can certainly, notwithstanding our distance from what they're doing, look at what they've provided and offer comments. So these are all things that we could consider doing. It's not my suggestion that any one of them is necessarily right. And as I said, we have already, in my view, fulfilled a purpose simply by soliciting the information. But I think what I would seek to do is to encourage us, if we put this back on the agenda, to actually dig into the materials and come back prepared to discuss what we'd like our role to be so that we can perform it. David.
By asking this question, I'm not suggesting that what you just said is invalid, but do you think that we're potentially stepping on the toes of the Board of Ed? Because ultimately,
That's certainly,
ultimately the superintendent works for them, right?
Look, that's my point. That's a concern. It's a valid concern. That's why one of the ways that we could conclude our role is that we've performed it. We could conclude that what we wanted to do was to confirm that the superintendent has a plan and he's working on it, and that we're very glad and delighted and want to thank him for that, and let him do that job under the supervision of the Board of Ed. That would be a valid conclusion in my view.
Well, someone can also give us guidance to make sure we don't step in those boundaries. If he was to, to visit one of our meetings and tell him, we explain our intent, he could help with the guidance to make sure we don't do that.
Fair.
And sorry, and/or do we ask him how he thinks that this committee might be helpful to him?
Hmm.
You know, what might we do to be able, is there something that we could do that would be of assistance to him in the process?
Yep.
That would seem to be the right hierarchy.
To ask him, how can we help?
Yeah.
So one of the things that I think is true is that Dr. Semmel would be happy to meet with one or two of us in his office to talk about it. And so that's one way to make that overture to him if we would like. Jennifer.
I think, sorry.
None of this has been shared with the faculty. I'm assuming it will be part of PD days when we end up going back in August, but I haven't heard anything about it from my boss.
That's interesting. I think that most of what Dr. Semmel shared with us is on the town website somewhere. The documents are linked to the town website. There was only one document that he provided that was not publicly available on the website, and that was something that was submitted to the state, and so is also presumably public. I can't certainly speak to the question of what gets distributed to the faculty, but I don't think that anything that was shared with us was shared with us specially. David?
When you say the town website, you mean the public schools, the Board of Ed's website, yes?
I confess I don't know what the link is to. It's to, as I understand it, a website owned by the town of Trumbull, but whether it's owned by the administration or owned by the school district, I don't know.
Okay, because when I float over the hot links in the email he sent, they all go to trumbleps.org. So I'm assuming that means the Board of Ed's website. I'm just getting back to what you said earlier about meeting with him prior to having him come, bless you, or having him come to having him join us at our next meeting. I would advocate that this probably wouldn't be a bad idea to have that discussion offline with him, not in this forum first.
Yeah. I would agree with that.
I'm sorry, I didn't follow. Have what discussion? Discussion about
Well, you
whether
said
he would like to come?
we could meet with him in his office to talk about how this committee might be of assistance to him, and I would advocate for doing that in that setting first
Right.
before doing anything publicly.
Exactly.
Oh, fair. Okay. So is that the conclusion of the discussion today, that one or two of us should ask Dr. Semmel for a meeting to talk about how we can be of help?
Yeah. I mean, I think in general, I think for us to be more effective, it would be not trying to take so much of a leadership, position on some of these issues, but to find out how we can work with other, entities within the town that have budget, that have resources, that have, the ability to leverage, some of the goals that we have. I just don't see us as being in a position to, do that sort of on our own. I really like the idea that if we could get guidance from, the various key departments in the town, say, okay, what can we do that is not that otherwise may not get done, right? Because I mean, this is our role to, help the town in this area. If it's something that they could use a little more resource on, or a group that could take some focus on it, that just strikes me as a very good way to leverage what it is we do.
Okay. So I'm certainly happy to ask Dr. Semmel for a meeting. I suspect I probably ought to attend it, given the communications that I've had with him. Is there somebody else who would like to join me in that?
I would be happy
recognize
to.
we're two members.
Yeah, I'd be happy to join you on that.
Okay. I know we're two members short, but I guess you snooze, you lose. So um, I'll see what Dr. Semmel will do and try to coordinate with your schedule and see if we can do that. So
David, David, are you available to attend? Hello?
Yes, I could be, depending on when you think this might happen, if that's helpful to you, Jonathan.
you're welcome. I don't think we want to overwhelm the superintendent, but
Agreed.
I don't imagine he would have trouble with two or three of us.
Sure, I'll
I'm
be
sure
happy
he's a
to.
match for any two or three of us.
I'd be happy to join you.
All right. Anything else that we should discuss tonight with respect to this item on our agenda? Okay, so I'll try to set up that meeting and we can consider whether to revisit this agenda item after that meeting. I suppose at least we would report back on the meeting to some extent, assuming we get a meeting. That leaves a couple of questions. One is, when should our next meeting be? Currently scheduled for August 15th. At least one of us, I think, won't be able to be in attendance. I don't know that there will be a lot of heavy items on our agenda necessarily. There will be at least one other meeting before our book club, and so we could conceivably cancel the August meeting. Is there a sense among all of you as to whether having the August meeting is a constructive idea or is it unnecessary?
Yeah, to add to that, I'll be traveling, so I won't be able to attend the August meeting.
Same
All right,
with
Seth.
me. Well,
All right.
I think we're already at a stated lack of quorum.
I think we're already at we would need everybody else to have a quorum. Let me ask that any one of you make a motion to cancel our August meeting.
I move that our August meeting be canceled as a summer recess for our committee.
Absolutely.
Okay. You know what? It dawns on me. Jim Cordone couldn't join us tonight. He said, "Do you need the town's lawyer here?" And I said, "No, I don't think so." Although I said, "We'll miss you." Now I desperately miss him. I think what I'm going to actually suggest is that I'm sure Robert's rules require us to do something a little bit different, but can I have unanimous consent to table Rick's motion for a moment?
Okay with me.
Yes.
yes.
Okay. Now let me call for a motion to consider a motion to adjourn, even though it's not on our agenda.
I move that we consider a motion to cancel the August Eat It meeting.
Okay. Is there a second?
The second.
Jen, all right. Is there any discussion of that motion? All right, I'll call for a vote. If that's unanimous,
Yes.
and it is, I think we can then move back to the tabled motion, which I'll ask that we take off the table. Does everyone agree?
Agreed.
Are we having fun with Robert's rules yet?
Oh,
Okay.
highlight of my
So-
day.
So I think now the motion on the table, the motion on the floor, is a motion to cancel the August meeting. Any discussion of that motion? All right. All in favor? Okay. So our August meeting is canceled. At least I consider it so. It may turn out to be that as the chair, I had the prerogative just to not put it on the calendar. But in any event, it is now officially canceled. And Joanne, would you let the town know in whatever fashion they need to be advised? We will return again for our September meeting, which someone can tell me is whatever the third Thursday of September is. And with that, I will wish everybody a good summer. Before everyone goes, Bill can take us off and just hang on a minute. Oh, and I'm sorry, before we do that, one last thing. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I move
Important.
to adjourn.
Second?
I'll second.
All right, all in favor? Okay. Robert's rules may have beat us, but not entirely. So we're adjourned.